This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. So, yeah. So last session we were discussing about how do we set up our web server, right? So we have tried to create a domain, and we just try to follow some, basically some real-time standards, right? So how actually a website looks like, so we try to deploy a website, and how do we actually, so access over a name because we don't use IPs. So how do you get the name and all? You got some idea on that. And after that, so we need to go with a secure layer because plain HTTP will cause so a security gives you a scope of our yeah, so gives you a scope of what we call so security attacks basically. Okay, that's where you just want to avoid. And every website usually runs on HTTPS. And later we talked about if someone hits HTTP also, how we can take him to HTTPS, a redirection rule also we talked about. So that is what we have talked about, right, so far. And the next thing, so we are going to talk about here is a virtual hosting. So in today's terminology, we call it as so ingress resources in Kubernetes. If someone heard about this particular word also, so the basic fundamental concept is this one. Okay, so what we are going to see is a virtual hosting concept. Okay, so ingress is Kubernetes is a kind of a famous terminology which we use actually in AM in Kubernetes environment. Okay, so over here, so what actually happens is it actually have a rules basically, and based on the rule, it actually contacts the particular that particular service. Okay, so that's how it is going to be. Okay, if I show you some example, basically here, something like this. So if anyone hitting like foo.bar.com, so we should be serving some content. Or if anyone is hitting something else, actually we're hitting this particular content, something like that. Okay, some kind of information. Okay, so you'd be doing now the same way. So we'll be also doing the same thing. If someone hits one domain, okay, like let's say foo.bar.com, we'll be serving one content. And so if someone hits the bar.foo.com, so then that means we'll be serving some other content. This is the plain ingress, so the behind the scene, this is Nginx, and in the Nginx, they actually dynamically make the configuration. That's it. They don't do much basically. You provide this particular ingress, and dynamically just reads your input, and you are actually going to not you're going to provide the input, and that particular ingress reads that particular input, and it is going to make that particular appropriate configuration. Okay, so yeah. Okay, let's first understand that so plain how it works, in plain how it works. Okay, so yeah, let's take a look there. Let's go to our account. I think I stopped the instance yesterday instance, whatever I launched. So let me start the instance. No, with Route 53, you cannot do, right? So Route 53, what you will be doing, you will be creating a DNS record. That's it, right? So yeah, so DNS record of both the entry points pointing to the same server is what you do. So yeah, you will see the whole process now, just in a minute, what really happens there. So it got one public IP address. I can take this public IP address. I can go to Route 53. You know Route 53, why we go there, right? So we can create a DNS records. Okay. So now I will go with a DNS record and pointing to the same server. So I go to here and create a record, and this is also going to be a record. So define simple record, and actually I'll say demo1, and I will just say IP address. This is the IP address define, and one more record, and it's going to be demo2. Demo2 is also going to be IP address, point to this, and define it. So two records, demo1 pointing to the same server, demo2 also pointing to the same server. So create the records. And so demo1.devosb53.tk, if I go and hit it, so I should be, actually it's a HTTPS configuration, so that's where you are getting this unsafe information, so which is okay, which is okay. You can ignore that, or else you disable the Nginx configuration. So DevOps 321 sudo su-vim/etc Nginx, and Nginx.conf, sorry, Nginx.conf file. So here yesterday we enabled some lines of HTTPS configuration. So I'm just going to disable them. Okay, so that's only for one domain. So now the domains whichever I'm using here. So okay. Now, and also the redirection, whatever we're making, right? So this also I'll comment it out. Now, any line starting with a hash is a comment. That configuration will, that lines will not be read by the programs. Basically, most of the programs, 99.9% all the Linux programs will have the configurations or will have the configurations commented with hash character. Okay, so yeah, so that's where I'm just hashing them. Hashing is a comment. It's actually not going to read that particular line, so that's where we're fine. All right, so 7-bit and then systemctl restart nginx. Now if I go and give HTTP, so there won't be any problem. Actually going to HTTPS again. It's using my local cache. Let me open in incognito mode. So you are getting it, demo1, the same thing. Go to demo2, also you get it, the same content. You get the same content. Now I don't want the same content. If I'm getting the same content, then why should I give two names? No, I don't want to get that, so same content, right? I want to get a separate content. If I hit demo1, then I have to get demo1. If I hit demo2, then I have to get demo2. So how do I get that? So basically I get that by using virtual hosting in virtual hosting in Nginx, and we're using CentOS 7 operating system. So how do I set it up? So basically, if I go here, and this is a simple configuration you'll be having. So they're telling that, so why don't you create two directories, okay, for having your different content. Okay, so I'll also create my different content. So where is my content? /usr share Nginx, and then HTML, so ls, and so probably, I mean, this is the default content, so I will go back, and I'll make here mkdir demo1 and mkdir demo2. Okay, so cd demo1, and what is the default file? Index.html, right? Index.html. I'm creating that particular file. I will just make nothing. Okay, so so I will just put a heading stating that hello from demo1. That's it. /h1. Okay, and copy the index.html to /demo2 also, and cd /demo2. All I need to do is .html. So all I need to replace that demo1 with demo2. That's it, nothing more than that. Okay, so you created two directories and you hosted some content on your own, but it can be a real-time, so application project, whatever it is, doesn't really matter. Okay, so vm index.html, and so you got this content. Now I have to tell to my configuration. So they're asking to create some directories, and definitely they'll also say that you create some HTML file. So you see this index.html file. I also created some HTML file. So these guys written a nice one, but I just went with a simple heading. That's okay. Well, let's come to the configuration. Okay. So how do I have the configuration is? So here you already have something called as yeah. So something like this I had to write. Okay. So then what I'm saying here is here. Let me open the Nginx configuration. So what Nginx configuration is telling me, Nginx and then nginx.conf file, and this is a main configuration file, right? So we usually can edit the main configuration file, but usually as a best practice, these guys will encourage you to write your configurations in a separate file, not into the main configuration. Even the previous HTTPS or whatever you enabled is not a good practice that you go and enable the or modify the default configuration. You always go and add your own configuration. Okay, so what are the two places actually it is adding the configuration is, see, one configuration actually in Nginx is one server, one virtual host in one Nginx is one server. Okay, now all the servers can be included from include etc nginx conf.d. Okay, etc nginx conf.d, there is a directory. If any file with .conf file, it will just load them. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'll just take this line, okay, that much line, and I'll go to vim/etc nginx conf.d and demo1.conf file. Okay, so this is a demo1 related conf file, and over here the server name is actually, this should work only if it is given as demo1.devopsb53.tk. If any request comes to this server name, I should serve this content. So what is the content I should serve? Is it user share Nginx HTML? No. It is actually user share Nginx. It's demo1. That's it. Quite simple. Okay, you need to include any of these. Basically, you can ignore them. You can all ignore these lines. Not really big deal. So that's a simple configuration you are making. So it is listening on 80 port. You're saying that you want to listen on 80 port. Again, this is also quite simple. I'm saying only like IPv4 listen, and the server name is this. If any request is coming to demo1, serve the content of demo1. That's it. Pretty simple. And if any request comes to demo2, so then copy this file and open the file, and so you can also go for percentile as v editor, right? So search for demo1, replace it with demo2 / this demo2, this is demo2, right? So save and quit. Now systemctl restart nginx, but there is some error actually coming through. Let's see, there should be one location, I think. So what is the error it is telling? Okay, so it is telling that so duplicate server, so listening on 80 port basically. Okay, I think this default server you are not supposed to keep. Yeah, so that default server has to be only one. You cannot place it in multiple places. So that is where it's actually telling it's an actual error. Okay, restart Nginx. Now it is fine. So netstart -lntp, it listens on only 180 port, even though there are multiple listens. Okay, it listens on 80 port only, no issues. Fine. Now if I go and so this is the demo2, right? If I try to refresh, it is the server, you're getting demo2 content, and you go here and try to refresh, you hit it from demo1, you're getting demo1, demo2, you're hitting demo2. So what actually happened? So the actually happening is the Nginx is actually loading this configuration, and whatever the name the request is coming from, it is sending the appropriate it is serving the appropriate content. it is serving the appropriate content. So the Kubernetes ingress also does the same thing end of the day. So it actually understands your request in a declarative format. So now what they have did is, what are these ingress, what is this Kubernetes guys has done is, they made it declarative. Okay, so we can also write this in a declarative format. Like, let's say, I'm just giving an example. I can make my own program, but I'll just want to give you some context here. So now here also I can give two things. So basically I can take a list. So what is the what is the port number? Port number is 80. Okay, so port number is 80. And what is the server underscore name? So server underscore name is demo1.devops b53.tk. Okay, so something like this. And what is the directory? What is the directory for this? So directory is basically your share /nginx/demo1. Okay, that's it. Okay, and so the second one you can go with this one. Okay, and you can say demo2, and you can say demo2. That's it. So they gave it in a very simple format, in a declarative format, we call it as. What is this declarative approach and things like that? We'll see in the later sessions. You'll understand that they're trying to make a life easy. See, I want to learn Nginx, right? If I want to write an ingress rules, I have to learn Nginx, but I don't really want to learn Nginx. These guys are providing in a format in such a way that you give a key values. Okay, you give the required key values, it generates the configuration. Now from that particular file, so what you can do is, I can generate my own configuration which is looking by Nginx, using writing some driver software, some small software I can write it, some small program I can write it. That program can read the YAML input and convert that into an Nginx format and store it out there. That's what they're doing. Okay, why I'm stressing this particular point, even though we don't require actually for our project in the starting, I'm stressing this particular point is because this is widely important option. Okay, so ingress internally, what is happening? If you want to take a look understanding that, so the concept behind that is called as virtual hosting. What is virtual hosting? So virtual hosting we are using is a single web server is going to serve multiple websites. Okay, that means if I hit demo1, it's a one different website. demo2.devops b53.tk is one website. Demo1.devops b53.tk is another website. You're hitting it, it has to be a separate content. Has to be a separate content. So that's how the web server behaves, and this is called as a virtual hosting. Okay, so we may not use the virtual hosting directly in our project, but we go with a virtual configuration. I'll talk about that for now. So the next point actually which we have on the web server here is one second. Yeah, so yesterday we were trying to talk about this. Now web server, so basically host a website. So HTTPS setup we talked about, and redirector rules also we talked about. It was proxy, and so what we talked about is virtual host. Okay, a single web server. Now how it solves the multiple, or how it solves the different content is this is a concept, virtual hosting. Back in days there are two different types of virtual hosting. So we used to have IP based virtual hosting, and after that we used to have name based virtual hosting. Now currently what we are using is name based virtual hosting. And what is IP based virtual hosting is, you for a single server you configure multiple IPs, and each IP you kind of create a DNS record, and you hit the direct IP, and that IP configuration will be passed. But that's the old strategy. We don't want to run behind creating multiple IPs configuration. So yeah, so it goes on name level, and that's where it is called as OSI layers. Okay, so and also it's basically a layer 7 configuration. So for you, it's quite a basic. Basically, every one of you should learn about that. OSI layers will be there. Okay, so there are 7 layers which are available in the system, like how the so data transfer will happen. They are categorized into 7. So just open some YouTube videos. So just give OSI models. You'll find out decent videos out there. Just have a minimal understanding. so that then you will compare how Nginx is working, then you will understand it. Okay, so if you are looking really internals, okay, how it is working, if you're curious about, okay, how you give a single name and how it is working, so then yeah, it is. And basically to show you, so it actually works on the layer 7, the last layer. The layer 7 is the highest layer, so which is an application layer. So 7th layer that Nginx works on, so that that name-based virtual hosting, you take a name. It's very smart to understand, okay, the request is coming in this name, so I have to solve this particular content. So it just understands that. Okay, so that's where yeah, so yeah, I would say just take a look. Okay, it will not be much critical thing. It's a fundamentals of any operating system, so just take a look. But we don't really require them, so that's where I'm not talking about them. But you should have a minimal understanding, okay, as a person working on the operating system. All right, so this is how you're having the things around the web server. There is one more thing which we actually widely use now, so which is reverse proxy. So we're going to talk about that. Okay, but before to that, any questions on this virtual hosting?
So I guess, Raghu, that in Route 53, how we do the routing, simple routing, or the other routing policies, that is old technique. Is that what?
No, this is the technique. This is the current technique. This is the name, right? You're giving multiple names pointing to the same server only. This is name-based virtual hosting. So now old strategy is going to be demo 1 is going to be having a different IP address, demo 2 is going to be having a different IP address, but those two IP address configured on the same server.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? And there is also one more concept here, so which is basically a reverse proxy. What is a proxy? Okay, and what is this reverse proxy? Okay, so proxies of two types: forward proxy and reverse proxy. Okay, where do you use these particular two things? Let me show you that with a simple diagram. Every one of you know forward proxy. Your Wi-Fi router is a forward proxy. Okay, your Wi-Fi router, whatever you are using, is a forward proxy. And but what is this reverse proxy then? Let's take a look here. 1 second, let me grab that. Yeah. All right, I think you can see my screen. So yeah. Okay, so the proxy is actually going to be what is the meaning of proxy, right? So it's a pretty simple one. You mask something, bypass something is called as proxy, right? Yeah, so now this is actually categorized into two things. So one is forward and the other one is reverse proxy. Now where do you use these two things? First of all, okay, so here if you are actually having a Wi-Fi router, or let me tell you in a simple way, even you go to your organization, like let's say you're having some kind of, or your laptops basically, and you have a lot of laptops. Okay, you get the internet from some source. You don't know where it is coming from, but you're getting internet, right? But this internet actually taken by, so it's not like every machine have a separate internet, right? It has single internet and it's been shared, right? And this guy actually, so kind of filter the content basically. So this guy is actually gonna proxy your internet basically. This guy is actually passing your internet. So that's where The Wi-Fi router also is a kind of acting the same thing. It takes a internet single lead, single connection, and it distributes the traffic through multiple machines. So that's a forward proxy. And what is the thing you can do here is you can control the content. Okay, so let's say you go to an organization. So probably some websites are not allowed, like a facebook.com is not allowed, like a Twitter is not allowed, or a naukri.com is not allowed. Some websites are blocked basically. So how? Because this proxy server has the capability. So the proxy is serving to so many machines is called as a serving to so many machines is called as forward proxy. So I mean, these machines are, assume these are, so servers also, you can understand those are internet. Okay, so the servers, or you can call it as machines, anything, doesn't really matter. So these servers or machines is actually going to have the, you're actually going to, so serve the internet. Okay, you're actually going to serve the internet. So in this direction, okay, so serve the internet in this direction. So the request is coming, or the traffic actually coming to the server. Okay, so which is a filtered content, which is called as a forward proxy. So here is the place where you use forward proxy. Okay, that's forward proxy. And whereas you come to the reverse proxy is nothing but you have a machine. Okay, you have a machine. Okay, you have a server, and you're going to have some other servers in the backend. You are going to have some other servers. You're going to have some other servers. So this is running some service. This is running some service. This is running some service. Okay, so these particular services is actually exposed to the outside world by this guy. Okay, so that means if anyone hits this service, okay, so they get the response, because this request goes to this server and fetches by this server and sends you the response back. Okay, so that's how it is going to happen, and this is called as a reverse proxy. And if you look into the traffic flow, basically it's actually this side. Okay, it actually this side. All right, so this is how it is in the order, and this is basically is a reverse proxy. Okay, so a single server, okay, proxying other server content is called as a reverse proxy, as simple as to say. The flow wise it is the one. Okay, and whereas if you look in the real use case, this are okay, each and every server I'm not intended to open to the outside world. Each and every server they'll not put it to the outside world. Like google.com is having 100 google.com is actually having 100,000 machines. Okay, 1 lakh machines. They don't actually open every server to the outside world. They always try to put it through one server, and that particular server is actually going to serve the content. Okay, so that's called as a reverse proxy. That is called as a reverse proxy. And what are the different reverse proxy machines services which we have is, so Nginx as a one, it does that. And also there is something called as a load balancer. Okay, so which we'll see that. So load balancer also works as a reverse proxy. So you hit this content, you never know behind the scene, okay, how many machines are there, how many, so where it has to get it. So it all happens in the configuration over here, and it serves the content. That's it. Okay, so based on the configuration you mentioned out there, either on the Nginx or the load balancer configuration, so it just serves the content of that particular another machine. That's it, as simple as that. Okay, all right, so let me show you the practical way. Now I'm going to create another instance here. Okay, I want to serve my own content. Like let's say this is the server. So until now you're hitting this server. Okay, so I'll say I will go with launch another instance. So you know how to create an instance. So community MIs, look for DevOps -practice, select it, micro, no change, no change, no change. So here choose a firewall which we created, which is allowing all the ports. Review and launch, proceed without a key pair, launch it. Now this is the new instance. I can take and configure some kind of a DNS record for this. I can go here and say that create a record. Record is really not needed, but still, yeah. So we'll do that. That's okay. Okay. So this one, and define a simple record. Like let's say I want to solve demo-rp. Okay, so demo1-rp reverse proxy. Okay, so I give this define demo1-rp reverse proxy of that particular one and do this. Okay, now let's try to log into that server. Let me open another tab. SSH, this one. Server is still coming up.
Raghu, how can you open a new tab? Like,
So this is macOS utility. You don't have that in, I think, in PuTTY. Yeah. So if you want tabs in PuTTY, so probably you have some tools called as a super PuTTY or something. I told you, right? So there are a lot of tools available. So super PuTTY, you can use this one, and you can have some tabs like this. Okay, if you are interested on tabs. Yeah. There are a lot of tools. You explore, there are nice tools available, but PuTTY is a very basic one. And so sudo su hyphen, and I will install Nginx, install nginx-y. Now I want to do a reverse proxy, right? Let's install Nginx. Okay, cool. And I go here and say vim/etc nginx and then nginx.conf. So here you can modify. So, but I don't want to modify the main configuration. So that's a very standard I want to take it. So it's not a good way to edit the main configuration. So if you are actually adding a virtual host, you add it in conf.d directory. But if you are actually adding sub configuration inside this main server, then you can add it in etc nginx default.d and start.conf. And there is already a location here, so yeah, you can add it. I mean, in the project wise we'll go there, but for now I'll add it here only. So now I want to do a reverse proxy, right? So how do I do that? So proxy underscore pass, I'm going to say that http:// demo1 dot DevOps b53 dot tk. If anyone hits the request of a demo, or else, yeah, so if anyone hits this particular server, okay, so then you're going to solve the content as demo1 dot DevOps b53 dot tk. That's it, you're saving it. Okay, and systemctl restart nginx, you have that. Now if I go and do demo1-rp dot DevOps b51.53 dot tk. Okay, so now you hear this, you're getting the content of demo1. Are you hosting the demo1 on the first server? No, actually hosting the demo1 content on this machine. Okay, the demo1 is actually here. This is the demo1. Okay, but what you're doing, you're using Nginx and you're configuring a reverse proxy here and pointing to this one. Now you hit this server, you get this content, and actually to the outside will look like this is the server actually having the content, but no, it's a backend configuration, so pointing to another server. Okay, and this is how the real-time microservices works in real time. So there is now today's world, actually we're having something called as microservices. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about that particular concept. But before to that, any questions on that? Okay, all right. Yes, someone saying something? Any questions? Okay, so monolith versus microservices. Okay, so what is this monolith versus microservices? Okay, monolith is the previous previous way of development. Okay, microservices. And if you look into the images generally, so you will see this as this something like this. Okay, now here earlier everything is going to come as single software, and a very big software it is going to come as. Okay, that has every component embedded. And that's the strategy of waterfall model. But now we actually kind of doing a agile practice, right? In agile, actually small chunks actually come as an outcome. And how do we actually make that particular outcome in parallel is, okay, so this is how we make it. All right, and this is how we make it, and that's what is the microservices comes into picture. Now, the architecture wise, every piece of software works as single piece, and whereas microservices is a kind of microservices is a kind of small pieces, so which interconnects between them over the network, and you get the outcome basically. Okay, hope every one of you have seen the Netflix web page at least, right? So Netflix web page looks like you as a single service, right? Netflix.com for you is a Netflix.com. For you it is single. Okay, but how actually Netflix works? Okay, so Netflix, Netflix microservices. Okay, if you go and ask, like, Netflix, how many microservices does it have? So count microservices count. So in one of their presentation, so they mentioned it is actually having that is in 2017 itself. So they are having 700 microservices. And the Netflix website, actually, whatever you're watching is gonna comprising of 700 pieces. Okay, it's not single piece. Okay, so now what is the advantage? Basically, you get it over here. If some small piece is actually down, it will not impact the big piece. Now, okay, what is the problem with the big pieces of software is, okay, if a big piece of software, even a small component is also not working, it bring down the whole application. So usually you'll find out this particular monolith applications still in some banking services, right? So banking and all, they will usually forward an SMS saying that, okay, hey, in this weekend, so in the midnight, so 3-4 hours, we'll be down basically. But Netflix never says you that, Amazon never says you that, Google never says you that, right? So, but why they are not saying? So because those are running on microservices, and so the impact is going to be very minimal. I mean, I'm for sure that you will also find out some issue around the Gmail also, the refresh will work, right? Some small glitches will be there, but that will not have a very big impact on the whole your user system, basically the company's user system. But the banking and all, they usually try to take a big downtime, and they try to do that, and if that goes wrong, again, is a big pain. At least the people in India, so that the HDFC last year, actually there was an outage last year, November only, I think. There's a big outage actually. Okay, so which almost like 2.5 day on the salaries day, actually the application went down. Okay, so they took an update downtime. I don't know the reason, which they usually will not prefer to go with. They usually will not prefer to go with the month-end kind of releases. So because the month-end, usually they do a lot of transactions, right? So everyone try to do a lot of transactions. So they usually take it in the very less time. Okay, mid of the month, or little bit sometime weekend, something like that. Okay. So, but somehow they took a decision of going on the month-end release. Okay, so so they are just mentioning an intermittent issue, but seriously talking about it, actually was down for so much time. Okay, so someone was commenting saying that so don't lie, it was 4 days actually. At least I know it was 3 days, because all my transactions were down. Okay, I still remember that. Okay, almost 3-4 days it down. A banking whole application is down. No one able to transfer the money. Everyone have the amount in account, but so it's a lot of pain, right? So I mean, your salary gets credited out there, and I want to pay the pay the EMIs to other banks, and I want to pay my credit card bills to other bank. I want to transfer amount to some third party person. Nothing. Okay, nothing happened actually. Okay, so yeah, so this is how the business get affected. They got a very bad name on that actually. Okay, because so they are monolith basically. HDFC is very poor in technology basically. Okay, they talk about a lot of security, but still so in the crime rate, in the financial crime rate, they stand in the very first place, at least in India. Okay, but yet they talk about too much about the security. Okay, they'll not allow you to keep a long-term password. They'll allow you to recycle the password in the frequent amount of time. There are a lot of policies imposed out there, which is of useless policies. Okay, which shows that as a legacy system. Okay, so there's a competitor for that, ICICI Bank. So you open the ICICI Bank, that clearly shows that it's all bits and pieces. Okay, the feel itself, it shows you that it's a modern application, and it is actually a microservice application, because at least I have been using these two banks from quite a long time. I've been observing them as well, their service and the portals, and just trying to compare, at least for the people who sits in India. Might be the US people, I don't know what is out there, but still. Okay, so such things will happen. Okay, if you have monolith, coming back to the point, the monolith is always a problem. So we don't know what happened internally. Some piece might be the problem. Identifying which piece is also causing the problem is also a big problem basically in monolith applications. But microservice, like let's say you come to the same banking example. If it is a microservice application, if my application is related to the bank transfer is down, I still can grab the statement. I can still grab the I can still go and pay my in-house related payments, like like some kind of some, what we call, mutual funds, or I can go with some deposit forms. I can go for some recurring deposits. Okay, whatever, some actions can be done. Okay, probably the major money transfer is down, but still the other parts will work. But actually, monolithic, everything will be down. Not only that, now the problem actually has been narrowed down to, even for the backend people to look into the issue also. They know that where is causing the problem, which one is causing the problem, right? And identifying and so solving the problem is also very easy for them. Okay, so that is where, so today's development is not waterfall model, it's actually agile. And agile actually, so it all comes as a small pieces, and that's how the microservices is much flexible for agile development. Okay, so and whatever the reasons it is, so today's development is more running on microservices. Okay, I will not say that everyone requires a microservice technology. Okay, because microservice becomes a complex in management as well. Okay, so why? Because you see the same Netflix, 700 services. Seriously, 700 services, how does it look like? Okay, so they publish their network diagrams. Okay, you go and ask so Netflix, in some of their presentation, they give the network diagram basically. So how their network looks like, this is how their network looks like. You see the blue one, so this is how their network looks like. Also probably each and every component, you see some database, some lines actually they are having, right? So some database, some network device, it's a very big diagram, and each and every component is being connected. So the green, the outlayer, whatever it is being connected, the component to component connection. So they kind of so made a network diagram out of their components, and this complex it looks like. Okay, so sometimes actually it's a pain also, but yeah, so but that is how the current trend is going on. So your effort would be to streamline the challenges whatever you have out there as well. I mean to say, like, how do you manage it in a better way? Okay, so whatever it is. And this is also like Amazon's related. Amazon e-commerce website is also not a single monolith application. It's actually a lot of microservices involved, and here it is. Okay, their network diagram. So each and every dot you see is a microservice, and those are being connected to each other. So their network network diagram looks like this. Okay, so which it becomes this much complex, so just it's not so easy as well. Okay, at the same time, so easy in some terms but difficult in some terms as well. Okay, but whatever it is, it is current trend in the market, and that's how the development is going on. It's not our headache. not our burden, by the way. It's the developers' things. They decide, which model to go with, and we just operate it. And again, as I mentioned, most of the things is going to be, most of the people are now going with microservices only. It's not monolith. Okay, so that's the way actually current trend is going on. Now, since it is going on that way, so now, so you see this, even in here, actually the UI is one place which all the behind the services will be connected, and this UI is going to solve that particular content. And this is UI is nothing but a web server here. Okay, that UI is called as a web server. So that's where we are spending some time and understanding. So basically, what are the different configurations which you can make it on the web server side, because that is the guy who faces the actual user. Okay, but behind the things are simple services, and even some of these services are not even some of the services in microservice world. None of these services are UI. Only the UI is UI. Okay, all these services are API. So that means command line kind of thing, small one. Okay, each and everything does a small work actually. Okay, so this is how the designs are going to be. Your project designs are going to be this way. So clear? Any questions? All right. So yeah. So since it is a microservices strategy, so our project is also having a microservices thing. So we also having 3 layers of application, 3-tier architecture. Architecture wise it's 3-tier, but services wise it is microservices. We are having a web layer. Okay, so here you're having a web layer. One second. Yeah. So yeah, few service. Sorry. Let me come back. Yeah. So few services we are having, and those services have been categorized into 3-tier architecture. So one is a front end, so which is the UI basically, right? So we're talking about. So and after that, you're going to have some services in the backend. It's a RoboShop, and again, it's not my project. I already shown you, I think, in the very demonstration session. So RoboShop is not my project. So it's actually Instana. So the product actually, which is Instana, even if you go to roadmap.sh actually here, so there's a product which is mentioned out here. So which is our own famous services, famous product. So there is something called as Instana. Okay. So Instana is a product. Instana.com is a product. So what is this guy does is they help you in application performance monitoring tool. Okay. So they help you in understanding application performance. So that means there's a lot of calls happening inside the application. Each call, how much time it is taking. Okay, so in that particular time also, how much time it is actually taking the time to contact to the database, and how much time is actually taking to respond back. Okay, so these kind of metrics it will provide basically this kind of this kind of data it will be provided by application performance monitoring tool. Okay, and this is a news actually. IBM to acquire Instana as a company. Okay. All right, that's fine. So yeah, these guys actually these guys have the RoboShop. Okay, so in a lot of their presentations they actually present this particular RoboShop, and everyone have their some kind of project actually. So like let's say Google have their own project. Okay, GitHub.com has a very serious projects. Okay, so it's all about how do we demo, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so in Google Cloud, a lot of their presentations actually, in the tech presentations, they use another product. They use called as Boutique, and this Boutique is also some kind of a e-commerce web page. We can go with this as well, doesn't really matter. Okay, so this has some services. Okay, but to start with, so that helps us in so that puts me in a easy way to demonstrate the things because it's not much complex application. So for a beginners, it's going to be a easy way. Okay. So once you are done with understanding of something, you can go with any of the one. Okay. So every product you take Microsoft, they'll have a lot of projects available out there. Microsoft in GitHub, they are having my Azure, I think Azure DevOps Labs. Okay. So they have a lot of projects here available. Not this one, I think Microsoft. So they have a lot of projects. So they have total 3,800 projects. I don't know, some project I remember. So these guys also have, Amazon also have a beautiful project. Let's say you are looking for pure learning of Amazon. So there's a project available here. I think somewhere I have it. It's another browser. Yeah. So there's another project actually here. This is also a retail demo store. So this actually is on Amazon. Okay, but there are a lot of Amazon services. Only to demonstrate Amazon, so probably we can pick this particular, this project. But we are actually going in more of the tools, whatever we want to use, whatever we have mentioned in the syllabus. Okay, so just keeping those particular tools in mind. Okay, I just chosen that particular Instana project. That's it. There's nothing more than that. Okay, it can be any project, doesn't really matter. So the project will have the information, and we'll be just using that particular information and setting up with the tools whatever we have. Okay, so that's all. All right, nothing more than that. Now let's come back to the that one. So I am actually going with github.com and Instana RoboShop. Okay, so this is the project I'm actually taking from Instana, guys. All right, and so this is the sample RoboShop project, and I'm picking it up, and there are a lot of components out there. So like a web, I'm calling it as front end. Okay, shipping, rating, payment, like this. I just took those services, as simple as that. I just took those services and I just configuring it in a way where I can present it. That's it, nothing more than that. Okay, it's not my code. Earlier I used to write I used to take some developers help and get them write the code, but actually those guys are actually lagging in. Everyone have their own work, right? Okay, so I'm getting behind of getting the things done. So that's where okay, so I thought of going with some public repository, which is even better. Okay, which is much better, because if I go with my own applications, hardly we used to have 3-4 components. Now we have total 10 components involved over here, so which is even much better. Okay, so you'll understand certain more things. Whatever it is, so our application is a three-tier architecture application. So I've been categorized that into a web layer, an app layer, and DB layer. Okay, so app layer is nothing but going to be the API services. None of these is going to have UI, just API. API is nothing but a command line. You hit a HTTP call, you get the response. That's it, and that is what we want basically. And the response is going to have all the details. And the response is going to have all the details. That details will be collected by front end. And in the front end, it is configured, it is written a code in such a way that take that particular API and project that information. Okay, that's it, nothing more than that. Okay, so this is how the architecture of the RoboShop looks like. Okay, so the front end is the one, so where we hit that, and every server is going to have its own firewall. But in our case, actually, we are using a same firewall for every server, right? We are using the same firewall for every server. And we are going to have a catalog server, cart server, user server, shipping server. And in real time, we don't keep everything in one server. No, that's not the good way, right? We go with minimum one server. Okay, so we'll go with one by one server, and we're going to set up this particular component. So here catalog actually contacts MongoDB, and also user contacts MongoDB, cart contacts, okay, con contacts, Redis, the structure I have given. Okay, so these are the components, and it just tries to connect in that particular way. Okay, so yeah. Another thing, so every one of you actually, I think trying to connect the session, right, using this link. I think every one of you is trying to connect to this session using this particular link, right? So here and over here, so you have some YouTube. Basically, you have, if you click on that, it will take you to the YouTube videos, right? YouTube video playlist. And if it is done, I mean, the next thing is if you want to Slack, you click on that, it opens up Slack web application. And here, Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps is a place where we are going to host all your information for our complete sessions. We are going to use Azure DevOps. If you click on that, it will take you to some web page, basically. Okay, so here it is. And on the left side, you're having a wiki. Okay, so wiki basically already had made a configuration documentation for each and every component, how to make it. But to start with, so project diagram. So is a diagram I'm making. So usually you join the organization, so they will be having some kind of architecture. So how does each and every component is connecting? Okay, so just to start with, this is a simple project diagram. So you will be having different flows also is being mentioned here. Okay, so how do you get into this particular web page? You open this, there's Azure DevOps link, click on open. Okay, and on the left side you'll be finding out a wiki, and inside this you have a project diagram, so you can see that particular. And any documentation, if I want to make it, so I will keep it over here only. I will keep it in this particular wikis only. Okay, wiki is nothing but a competition. I mean to say, like, a competitor to Confluence. Okay, Confluence is used for documentation in the organization, right? So the same way, wiki is something these guys are giving, which is a documentation. Yeah. All right. So we're going to, set up this particular architecture one by one, basically. That's what we're going to do. Clear? Any questions? Any questions? Yeah, all right, good. Okay, so this is how we are now going to set up one by one component. So how many servers I require? Total 10 servers. I require 10 servers. Now think about the cost. Okay, fine. We are using it. That's fine. But how about the cost? So cost 10 servers you're running. So it's going to be a little bit costly. Yeah, right. So it's going to be a little bit costly. And now I want to save the cost here. Okay, I want to save the cost. How do I save the cost? So that's where the spot instances comes into picture. Okay, so Amazon spot instances. So now Amazon instance types. Okay, let me put this way. So let me first, before to that, even let me talk about instance types. Instance types in Amazon is going to be you're going to have on-demand instances, demand instances. So which is going to be like, I'll keep it as okay, $. So just to understand the pricing perspective. Okay, so this is how generally we keep it, right? On demand is $, and you have reserved instances. So which will you upfront go to Amazon and say that, hey, I want 10 servers. I want to use for 1 year or 3 years. Okay, tell me the cost, I'll pay it. So you'll get some 50%. So yeah, so some 30 to 50% some cost saving will be there in this one. So that's where it becomes $. Now the last one is going to be is spot instances. Okay, so the spot instances are going to be, you'll get in a very cheaper way. Okay, so on-demand instances, whatever you're, all the time you're going here and just click on instances, those are on-demand. I mean, launch instance, whenever you're making, that's an on-demand instance. Or else when you purchase some instances, so those will show in the reserved instances. Okay, or you purchase some dedicated host, which is nothing but a direct hardware you want to purchase from Amazon. Okay, you want to use your own hardware. Now you will launch an instance, you don't know which hardware it is launching. Now I'm a banking guy, I want to keep my so all my data intact, all my machines intact in a closed closed isolated servers, so on my own servers. So that's where the dedicated host comes into picture. Okay. So, but there is another one which is called as reserved instances, which you purchase upfront, something as I mentioned, or else you have something called as spot instances. What is spot instances? That Amazon is having an idle hardware, so they maintain some hardware for capacity. Now, let's say all of a sudden you go ahead and ask some 100 servers, that Amazon will provide it. Amazon will not say that I don't have them, right? Doesn't make sense. Okay, so Amazon will provide them. Okay, mostly so if it is hundreds and hundreds of machines, you have to give upfront some information to Amazon saying that, hey, I want these many instances. So that's where you go to the scheduled instances and you say that, so I want to go for some scheduling. Okay, so so on one day I require 1,000 machines. That Amazon will not somehow just bring you 1,000 machines upfront, right? They should have the hardware. Okay, so compiling all these particular logistics information, okay, requirements, they maintain some hardware idle. Okay, so and that particular hardware they will sell it for very cheaper cost. Okay, so very cheap cost they will try to sell it. Okay, so you go to the spot instances, you go to the pricing history. Okay, so you go with like you see this on-demand instance is actually giving $0.1, and actually you go with the spot instance, you get 72% saving. You get 72% saving. 72 or even up to 90% savings are available in up to 90%. So savings are available in the spot instances actually. Okay, so that's where when you try to create some instances, okay, while you're having large number of instances, okay, so while we are having the large number of instances, so we need to think about the cost saving. Okay, so the cost saving, we use Spot. Don't think that companies will not use Spot. Companies will use extensively this Spot okay, to save the cost. Okay, don't think that way. Okay, companies also use that, but only one problem, there is no guarantee that instance will be with you. Okay, if Amazon want it, they'll take it away from you. That's the only problem. Okay, now if you are running some kind of compute related things, then yes, you're free to use that particular spot instances. Okay, so yeah, that's how yeah, so we are going to from now on, at least I prefer to use spot instances because I save the cost, right? I save the cost, and that's where I will start using the spot savings. All right, so how do I do that? And while launching the instance, you can just say that I want a spot instance. That's it, nothing more than that. Go to the instances, and these two instances are no more not needed. Just I can terminate the instance, and I'll go to the launch instance, and I will say it's a community MI, so it's actually going to be DevOps-Prometheus. Okay, so you choose that, and you choose your whatever the instance type you want. You can choose that. Okay, so it's your choice. Again, it's your choice. You can go with the T2 micro also, but I want to I don't want to face the lagging basically in performance. Okay, so that's where I'll always go with T3 small at starting basically. Okay, I don't want to lag with some performance because here T2 micro and T3 micro. Okay, T3 micro you can go, or T3 small also you can go. I always go with T3 small. It's my personal choice. Okay, there's no need that you should go with that only. Okay, keep that in mind. So sorry. Okay, I will go with T3 micro. It's your choice. You can still go with T2 micro also, no issues. And I will go with T3 small. Okay, configure instance details. And now here there is a spot request option. Spot request option. Okay, so this is what you're going to choose. All right, so and you're going to get a saving basically. And in this year only, I think in the starting of this particular year, Amazon offered. So the problem with the spot instance is you cannot stop the spot instance. That means so I cannot actually go ahead and stop the instance so that tomorrow I can start it. Okay, until the starting of the year there was no such feature with Amazon, but starting this year they provided that particular feature also. That means even though it is a spot instance, you get it for a spot cost, And at the same time, you can stop the instance also. If the Amazon want to take it away, they'll take it away. Even if it is stopped or running, doesn't really matter. Okay, but I can stop the instance. But you have to choose that particular option by going with something called as a persistent request, and you have to choose stop option. Okay, so that's how the instance can be stopped. Instance can be stopped when you are done with your work. You can just go ahead and stop your instance. So that's where okay, you get a less cost, and at the same time you're saving your work also. Okay, that means tomorrow you want to launch it, I can launch it, I can start it again. Okay, so that's the idea. So, and add storage and delete on termination and add tags. Okay, so configure security group. We already have a security group. Allow all, preview and launch. Now the same way I have to launch 10 servers. I have to launch 10 servers. Do you think isn't it a pain? Don't you think it is a pain? Like every time I have to go and choose all these options and make it. Yeah, right. Yes, it's a pain. Okay, so that's where we want to go with the next thing, which is called as launch templates. There is something called as a launch template, and using that particular template, what we can do is, what all the options you click, right? So those options can be chosen as chosen as a template, and you can launch from the template. Okay, you can see this one spot request came. So this is a spot request came. So T3 small, and this is the information about that particular one. I go to the instances. It launched one instance already. It launched one instance. You see this T3 small. Now this particular instance, I do want to convert into a template, right? So you can go with the actions, images, and templates. Create template from this instance. You can just choose that option, or else let's go to the launch templates on the left side. Let's write a simple launch template. Okay, launch template. Create a launch template and see the option which is so my spot one or something like that. I'm just putting that one. And so what else you want to make it? So here you need to provide certain information. Amazon machine image, AMI. So you have to give the AMI. Basically, I have to grab the AMI information. Let's go to EC2 on the left side, or you can go to the instance which is running also. You can grab the AMI information. This is the AMI ID. I'm copying this AMI ID. Clicking on that will copy and come back here. So you want to specify a custom value? Yes. And what is the AMI ID is this one. Okay, so save it. What's the instance type you want to use? My instance type is T3 micro I chosen, right? So T3 dot small, not micro, T3 small. Okay, and so yeah, so this is actually key pair is not needed. You can ignore that. And yeah, the security group. So what is the security group we are using? Allow all. I want to add this particular security group. And volumes you don't to bother about, resource tags you don't to bother about, network tags you don't want to bother about. Advanced details you have something, yes. So you have something called as purchase option, request for spot instance, yes. And how about request spot instance, and you can go for I'll go for persistent, and if I go for persistent, I think shutdown behavior should be stopped. I think I am also not sure. Actually, I never tried this particular template wise option, but let's give it a try. Okay, so request type is persistent because you remember it's actually it has to be a persistent one. No, it's actually going to be one time. Or even you're getting don't include this in template is what recommended, right? So you can discard that. For now, it's okay. But the shutdown behavior you mentioned as stop. and you want to change anything at this point of time, any of this. Okay, so your launch template is done, your template is there. So if you want to actually launch an instance from this one, so launch instance from template, you can click on that, and you're getting it, you're getting it, you're getting it. Here, resource tags. Let's see. Instance interruption behavior. Okay, let me compare that with spot request here, launch instance. I'll go with okay. So here request spot instance, and it's actually a persistent request, and interruption behavior has to be stopped. Persistent request I am giving, and interruption behavior I am giving a stop. Okay, so but I'm giving a shutdown behavior. I think no, it's not the one. Interruption behavior I want to choose as stop. Yeah, this is correct. Okay, so that means I have to update my template now. I have to update my template. So how do I do that? I can click on this template, and you can modify template or create a new version. You can do that. Modify template, and over here in the advanced section, I would be in the advanced section. So I'll be choosing shutdown. No, this one. Okay, customize. Yeah, interruption behavior you're getting, which is stop I am to use. Okay. All right. So now create a launch instance from template. So which I want to go with the latest version, which is 2 version. Or else you have a 2 version of the latest version, right? Let's update the default version as 2. So here modify default, set default version. The default version I want to use is the 2 version is the default version. So second change I made it to the template. So the default version is 2, the latest version is also 2. All right. So now launch instance from the template. So it should be coming up now, and it's fine. Those details, you're going to use a spot, and you're using interruption behavior stop and launch instance. So the request with one type is not supported with interruption. Okay, again, yeah. We're actually choosing persistent, right? Here, persistent request. Yeah, we have to choose persistent also. So where is that? Persistent. Okay. So let's update the template once again, because template is I'm using it to save my time, right? So one time I set the configuration and I run it, I should be getting it. So modify a template version. So from the previous version, we are going to take it and update it, right? So that's where it comes to advanced, and you will say here request type is persistent. Okay. Done. And also let's put like, so default version is 3. All right, perfect. Launch instance from the template. I should not modify anything. If I click on launch instance from the template, it should work. That's it. And it has to be a spot instance now. Okay. So the instance is successfully initiated an instance. If you go into that instance, and there should be a spot request now. There should be, if you go to the spot request, there should be a second spot request, yes. And if I go to the instances, so it is actually initializing the old instance. If I take it and I can go ahead and stop the instance, that stop will work. Let it come to running. This also I want to, so say it as, I think it's already running. So probably I can go and stop the instance. It should stop. It should not throw me any error. Yeah, it's working fine. So that configuration is fine. If you make a template every time in order to go with next, you want an instance, you go there and say that, you say that I want a server, you get it. Okay, you want 10 servers also, you can put the same template and say 10 number, you get the 10 servers at the same time. Okay, so that's the idea. All right, clear? Any questions? Any questions? So everyone clear that why are actually using spot instance? What made me to go with spot instances, right? So, and while going into the spot instances, every time rather than just clicking, I'm actually creating a template and go to the template and click one click, you get the servers. Okay, so that's the idea. And I went to okay, so launch templates, and now we'll actually be setting up the RoboShop application. So yeah, now we should be doing this. I think so we can start this particular part in tomorrow's session. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, probably we can start. I mean, I can answer those particular questions. Yes, Venkatesh.
Yes. So if you have any other questions, I would like to go with that the last. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. No problem. I mean, you can start. No issues.
Sure. Raghu, as I was yesterday, I pinged it in the Slack. So while I'm using this DevOps copy of it, I'm facing some issue with because I'm unable to open it the same in the Putty. Putty is getting the timeout error.
So it should not, because for me it is working, right? For you also it should work. Unless, are you using any company account kind of thing?
No, I'm on company account. Okay.
No, are you using any company's account?
Yes.
Okay, they might be imposing some rules that will not allow you to connect. That's it. Okay.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you are using your personal account, I think it will not cause any issue.
Sure. I will try that. That might be exactly because last week or sometime last class, I was trying to use at that time it was working fine. But yesterday I tried with the some other
on your company's things. Okay. So use your own account. It should work. It should be working.
Okay.
Yeah.
And other one, the next one is that say yesterday you were creating the hosting of the application, right? Hosting the website. So I'm facing, say, I try to rerun the video, but say you just sudo netstat -ln cp. Say you mentioned that opens 80 port. Then later you opened it in the browser, but I don't know how to copy it. I tried several times, but I don't unable to open in the browser.
So again, the firewall, again, it's same the company account. I think they have some network policies imposed, so which is not allowing you some traffic to the outside world. Okay, better use your own account, so own server, and go ahead and create a security group, as I mentioned. So this security group, which I shown you to create a opening everything, so then it will work. So there is knackles basically. I think they have enabled some knackles, or might be someone trying. I don't know your company's account. Use personal. It should be sorted out. No issues.
Yeah, sure. Then today I will try it. If I have any doubt, I will pick. Sure. Thank you.
Anyone? Any other?
Yeah, Raghu. So you said we'll create 10, 10 instances in a single shot. So yeah, you have created only one now in a spot, and you have created one template, and you have launched that instance, spot instance. So how we can go with 10 instances maybe tomorrow? Or
the launch instance, if you go there and it is asking an option, number of instances it is saying.
Okay, there is a okay. We have a number of instances column there. Okay. I have not seen that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
There we need to keep 10 and we can load all the 10 instances up and running, right?
Yeah, it will come 10 instances.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Rahul.
No problem. Anyone, any other questions?
Raghu, actually, while we are creating a template, we have seen one option like interruptions, right? What kind of interruption is it? Like internet issue or what kind of interruptions they were mentioned?
So stop and terminate is the two things which we'll be having. Okay. So if so the interruption behavior is nothing but the stopping. I mean to say like recreation behavior basically. Okay. If it is set as terminate, so the spot request, like let's say you can put this way. You can go to the spot request and create a spot request, and this spot request you can ask that the interruption behavior as terminate. That means if some reason my machine is terminated, go and launch another instance. Okay. So then what I'm saying now is I'm actually saying the interruption behavior as stop. So that means if it is actually stopped, you don't need to really create another instance. The behavior will actually changing from terminate to stop. So previously, if it is being set as terminate, so then the spot request will consider that particular that particular server is being terminated, and it will go and recreate another instance. Okay, but if it is set to stop, then what's going to happen there is even though the instance is stopped, it will not consider that as the instance is gone. Okay, it does some health check, right? Definitely. So it will not consider that as not completely gone, and it will consider that is still there. It will not recreate another instance. It's only about recreating the instance, which in a case we don't need it because we are actually launching a instance request. We're not actually launching a so what we call this
demand instance.
Fleet request. There is another request called as fleet. If you go for a fleet, basically fleet is nothing but a number of servers, right? So when in that particular case you want to maintain the capacity, then that interruption behavior more makes sense basically. But for our if you set that particular instance interruption behavior to stop, it allows you capability to stop the instance. Yeah.
Raghu, one more question. So you said in the spot instance type, you said if Amazon requests, they'll take out all the instances if they want. So yeah, if we are running, if we have some data and we have running this thing, what are the things we have to do for backup things? If they take out, is there any
compute application? Compute means no data stores. Only you do processing. While you are doing such kind of things, yes, it is preferred. If you are storing some data, spot is not preferred. Not good.
Again, if they take out from us, so again we need to create a new instance and we need to do whatever we did previously.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe is it preferable, Raghu? So only sometimes it's
preferable only. You will see all the settings will come up automatically when you have some strategy like automation.
Okay.
That's not a big deal. So termination is also. So today we run on immutable world basically. So immutable infrastructure we call it as. So what is immutable? Days, so you used to go and modify the, like let's say I launch one server. If I want to modify something, then I'll go into the server and I modify everything. But today it's not happening that way. Infrastructure is nothing but the servers are never modified after the deployment. So that means if I want a new deployment, then I'll terminate the instance and recreate the instance rather than modifying the existing.
Sorry, Raghu, you are breaking, so I don't know. It's from my end or your end.
You have a lot of noise from your side.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You want to mute? Yeah. So immutable infrastructure is nothing but, so today's strategy is going on immutable. That means if I have some deployment, like let's say my application deployment or website deployment, and if I want to change that particular deployment, so rather than only changing the content, what today's world we are doing is we're actually destroying the server and recreating the server again, and deploy the content in that. Okay, that's the immutable strategy. we are actually trying to follow nowadays. So even though you lost the server, it's not really kind of scary thing. Basically, you can rebuild everything in just in few minutes, not even few minutes, in few seconds also the things to bring it up. So yeah, so that's fine. That's not a big deal.
Okay, thank you.
Raghu, I tried to do it with my personal account also. It says, say after opening, I copied this the public IPv4 address and put it in the putty. After some time it will go inactive and it says timed out error.
Can you put that
So
IP on the
class?
Can you put that IP on chat? Can you put that IP?
Yes, yeah.
The GoToMeeting chat.
GoToMeeting chat, yeah. Just a minute.
Yeah. Anyone? Any other questions? Okay, all right. If no questions, we can meet in tomorrow session and we can continue on the tomorrow session. So tomorrow we are going to set up the project. So okay, we have different components. We have documentation already in place, and all we do is we'll just go and okay, so just follow the documentation, whatever is mentioned out there, and understand what we are doing. So every command, whatever we have talked so far, those commands only will be there, and to set up each and every component, and we'll be running them, and we'll be looking into them. Okay, so that's all from my side for today. So we'll meet in tomorrow's session, and yeah, we'll continue there. Bye. Good day. Good night.